Our next speaker is Kelly Tallon Franklin from Courage for Freedom.
Congratulations on today, and for this community, thank you everybody for your work and care. Intersectionality and having this many perspectives and opportunities to put the survivor at the front of the conversation, you folks are going to knock it out of the park. My phone number is 519-870-2292. It's private. I don't listen to voicemails. You have to text me, and we will provide my email. I am a human trafficking survivor and child sexual abuse survivor from the 80s. So I'm old as dirt, and I don't carry forward my stories except as experience. I'm available as a resource and a consultant to anybody from justice to frontline. And if you speak to some of your colleagues that brought us on call today, you'll understand that we've actually worked in your community. I've had 527 direct client support services of minors since 2013. So I don't speak for myself. I just amplify their voice that I've had the privilege to stand for, and with their permission. I currently have 47 young persons across the province, one across the pond, and a couple in another places in Canada that we help with day-to-day stuff. We might only need to intersect with them once a month now to get them navigating housing, peer mentoring. The biggest need that you're going to find with young people is system navigation. We also have a peer group that's my advisory council. They're completely anonymous. There's over 25 of them, and they're all under 18, and they vet all of our work and our social media presentations. Our clients move from being clients to being peers for support. Our timelines are non-existent. We work with anybody and everybody that we can assist, and have spent lots of time driving Highway 11 1769. We've helped support and moved young persons out of the justice system by demanding that people understand them circumstantially and get them into care and resources instead of the justice cycle for youth jail. And we just do lots of other stuff. I'm really sorry for what's going on with C.A.S. Without the funding and controlling the legislation being flipped over before they made that decision for your 12-hour scan. I currently have support of a client that's 12 years old, and she's been picked up in roadside calls with a man from another community, and she's been instructed how to do this, and nobody knows how to get a hold of this, because they literally don't have the housing or the means or the group homes that are required, because the licensing is all individual now. So we will be pushing the governments on that regard for everybody. We lobby for services. I'm not on payroll, and we're not government funded. So if you have an issue that your agency or organization might be government funded, so you're a little restricted in what you can say, and you'd like something brought forward to challenge our government, like M166, and like the bill changes to the youth, we're also interconnected with a lot of women's organizations and those that Resolution Right. Last week, we trained seasoned OPP officers at Southwest Region in new tactics and to make sure their procedures are using a victim survivor lens. We've trained UCCM and our organizational allies in the Toronto HT COPS, as well as on the island of Manitoulin. And so our board of directors and task force, they're basically from 10 different ethnicities and backgrounds and experiences, everything from somebody on a farm to a parent to a VP of something. I was asked I was asked 3 questions, so I'm going to talk really fast because of my own PTSD being a survivor. Sorry, my brain's flying right now. I encourage you guys to do a scan of your community, and what I encourage you to is to really unreservedly look for deficits. So not the normal kind that you see messaged up in all your briefs and the professional stuff, but the kind that survivors will speak to, and encourage this scan at all levels. Don't blame each other. Ask the weird questions that survivors ask. Do your hospitals currently have rape kits in stock? Some of them don't. So don't tell survivors you're going to be able to help and support them if you're going to take somebody to a hospital where they're say, sorry, we have no rape kits in stock. Find out your secondary supports, your tertiary supports. Make sure you know mental health, addiction, your diverse communities. Are they available? Find your system navigators, find your specialists, and everybody needs to work together. Don't worry about the money or control, because all of it belongs to survivors anyways. Give up your space in order to make things happen. Joy Brown did this years ago, and there's your big plug for eFry. I spoke at 15 years ago at a conference, cried my face off and challenged everybody to change the way we were warehousing survivors, that we weren't doing a good job at it. And the Peel strategy, if you want to change the face of your community, they will loan you the template. Sorry, I'm stealing your thunder, but they'll loan you the template of how to not only get the things you need for your community, but how to look for the money. So the question that was asked of me is direct service skills that are required. They're often not what we think they are. Some of it can be taught, but a lot of it is too intuitive and multidimensional. Book knowledge, degrees, and research, they're really good, but without anecdotal experiential understanding, we need to get past empowerment, and we really need to truly understand how empowerment itself is often a colonized theory that we've embraced. We need to understand guiding and self-direction, and that's the lens we're working out of with our horses right now. Trauma indicators are not all explored well enough. Often we have not segregated HT care from GBV and SE care, and we know from the studies that it's absolutely necessary because there's a different type of trauma that comes with HT, and we actually train people in this. You need to know more about the court and care processes. Go to htsurvivors.to, and any question a survivor has about the legal system is basically answered there, and they can look it up 24 hours a day. Sorry, it's written really policey, but it was a police budget. So no matter what anybody in your situation, table, or coalition or task force thinks, you need to know that if you're truly not only advocating on their behalf, but you have to become an activist and really a solutionist. And you're going to find resistance and misunderstandings even amongst each other. Agree to disagree for the benefit of the survivors. Don't get pulled in any of the drama. Respect everybody with the job at hand, and understand that sometimes the survivor's life depends on it. I'm not speaking the rescue language, but it's a fact. I was asked about a word list and applications. The trends are changing so fast. As fast as we do something about this, the criminality on it changes. So involve yourselves in a network, that'll currently bring updates to you so you can filter what you do and don't need. You can't be everywhere, so join with other solutionists. If you want to learn the types of pimps, the types of recruiter profiles, best exit strategies according to what type of victimization somebody has experienced, understand the different type of bond somebody could have. For example, and this is a client I've shared with Kelly, that, there's a young girl who has to hand her kids over on the weekend to a trafficker by court order. So how do you navigate that? You have to understand what type of pimp he was, what her trauma bonds are currently, and what's available to that person should they choose to get help in this. We need to do a better job learning how to navigate the sex industry, sex work versus human trafficking narrative, and understand that the presentation of our understanding of that, no matter how researched we are, has to come from our client. We also have to understand our client's capacity because PTSD-induced complex trauma triggers means some of our neural pathways are fried. And for those that know me, you would say yes, some of Kelly's neural pathways are fried. So we learn how to work around them. So this includes working with somebody that may want to go to a religious organization for support. That's okay. Somebody may want to go to an identified, excuse me, cultural community for support. Some may not. Know who you're referring to. I know when I'm sending somebody, when I have to do a soft transition, if it's a place they're allowed to smoke. Dear Lord, there's girls that if they can't smoke, they're going back to crystal meth. So I need to know that. And to know, and I agree with the conversation that I heard earlier, but I want to say this unequivocally. Not all survivors are conflationists or tend to say that they're experts or rescuers. My son's a firefighter. He's a rescuer. He runs into the fire. And rescue rangers, that's the cartoon I used to watch. They're rescuers. So, sorry, I digress. So who decides who the true experts are? Well, it's going to be whoever the survivor is, and they're going to tell you what they need. And you are going to have your I's dotted and T's crossed and know, excuse me, all the shit in your community. And you need to know how it works and how long it takes and what the housing application is and how many additional workers. You need to be those system navigators to help push the trauma back. So regardless of what somebody decides about sex industry, regardless of what somebody decides about survival sex, harm reduction, or their lifestyle or what they're going to do, you're able to give them clear data and help them with timelines, because wraparound works really well in theory, but when you're in trauma and you're triggered, you can't talk to 15 workers. So you have to find some team representation that you can appoint, and then you can all go and help to work in that pod. And, you know, thicken your friggin' skin. Don't get mad if the survivor doesn't want to work with you. Dear God, there's survivors that didn't want to work with me because I presented just in my personality like a madam that really did damage to them. And so it's all what's best for them. Identification of trafficking research is never going to totally encapsulate each person's experience, but it's necessary. So thank you for all the work you've done. 7 years, that's a lot of research. And I know that what it has led you to is the truest form of person-centric thinking. That even though you researched people, you still miss survivors whose conversations need to be allowed. And so that's for tomorrow. It's not one size fits all, never, I agree. And I agree about the bullshit at the UN convention. Sorry, I have a seat at the table. It's still based on historic patriarchy, misogyny, and colonization. So I understand both with my lived experience and my day-to-day, I strive to listen and increase my capacity as a survivor to be part of the solution as they direct me. And I have to ask for permission to amplify their voice and be real. And I am really clear that I can't dictate what is best for another human being. But I am clear that there is a sex industry, and that is where sex trafficking, sexual exploitation, and cyber sex and sex extortion is operating. And so the lines are really blurred, but we still have to work together and stop fighting one another and fight for the benefit of what those that are being harmed are telling us. So please hear me loud and clear. I don't need to be called a conflationist. I'm a survivor that wants to do individually, day to day with each single person, regardless of orientation, of whether they're from a marginalized or racialized community, regardless of whether they're aged. Do you know how hard it is to get care for somebody that's older, that wants to exit? It's so difficult. And regardless of the religion or their faith, I am working with more clients from different faith-based groups, specifically Muslims, than ever before. So we have work to do. So I'm going to tell you our approach. It's person-centric, but it's via a systems theory navigation and not just trauma-informed. We have to get past this now, guys. We have to be human trafficking trauma-informed, or else everybody's just going to put a shingle up on the door and claim they're an expert, and they're going to harm somebody because they're going to guinea pig them. But I encourage you to also add the words entrenched behavior analysis in order to, if you have an understanding of that, it will help you in prevention and support offerings that you're going to offer somebody. And there's two types of us doing this work, and we have to respect one another. We have to bring dignity to our work and our care and treatment of one another. Those that are called to this work for a lifetime because they can't walk away, and those that have joined in the work and it is their job and they're willing to work in it, maybe for seasons, maybe forever, for good and respected reasons. And sometimes they may need to move on or step away. So I encourage you all, we need to hold space and value each other with dignity in this work. I have free training at a level 3. It is free. June 11th and 12th, there is new and updated information. Solgen has taken our training and they're now developing it for probation and parole and corrections officers so they can understand if they're seeing human trafficking victims, survivors, however they want to identify or not. They can see if they're actually the victim of a coerced crime to help them better offer support through probation and parole so they'll have success to navigate away from the justice system. We've trained over 3,500 people. We learn every time we have a conversation. We're here for consultative support. I know our facilitator has rung my phone at odd hours, and we've helped understanding to happen that's bridged us right across the province. Our young people, if you have any young people in your community that are looking to ambassador this, they can do a school co-op with us. We have a team of over 70 volunteers and professionals that co-op everyone from high school to post-secondary at BA, MA, and master's levels, including the School of Indigenous Studies, the Schools of Business, and Schools of Social Work. And just to drop this, because I'm going to drop this because you're going to see it June 1st. We have worked, excuse my language, but there's no other way. We've worked our ass off to make sure those that are hurting and exploiting those through trafficking, sexual exploitation, and gender-based violence. And sorry, my brain went blank just for a second. We had seen trends happening all across Canada, specifically in Ontario, that those that are the highest demographic to victimize has now brought in to include those from marginalized language communities. So we have translated all our prevention and all our intervention means working with all kinds of sisterhood organizations into Arabic, Farsi, Somali, Urdu, Punjabi, French, and with 3 victims that we're now working with who have become survivors that came to Canada in March and paid the price being trafficked to be able to afford to get here. They have now translated all the prevention measures into Ukrainian, Polish, and Russian. So if you have any students that want to work on this, they'll get school credit for it. So that's it. Sorry. I'm done.
Thanks, Kelly. Our next presenter is Leanne Bailey, who's the Director